Welcome to our webinar called the APC Model, a framework that transforms how business engage, grow, and lead. Businesses, should I say, how businesses engage, grow, and lead. So, we're going to dive in. We're basically talking about here in terms of the future of business growth, because in local global market, we just have to understand that when it comes to marketing, you know, at the end of the day, it's not just selling. You know, I think it's storytelling. And we know when we talk about Apple, you're looking at Apple marketing campaign, it's always centered around storytelling rather than just selling their product and their ads. That's why, sell is not just about closing, man, it's about connecting, emphasize the emotional connection between the consumer and the product. And I've learned a lot, and we are learning a lot, and then you have to use technology with that. So remember those 2 points. So now we are introducing the APC model, which is a model that's going to kind of improve moving beyond traditional business strategy when it comes to improving business growth, marketing, and selling. Now, the problem is why traditional business strategy fails. Low customer engagement. You have 70% of customers feel there's no emotional connection to brand. And it happened. I think, remember, I just mentioned that sell is not just not just closing, man. It's connecting. You got to have a sales approach of company like Salesforce's, I believe, that just exemplify how building relationship and focusing on customer success, which lead to sustained businesses grow. Now, market expansion strategy too, when you are trying to expand internationally, you got to remember that 50% of business fail to adapt culturally when scaling globally. You know, um, it's just a reality. There's also the whole psychological disconnect. Brand that ignore behavioral insight, you lose customer trust. That's why in my work, I've always integrated psychological insight just to help people improve, tap into the mindset of consumer behavior, especially if you expand across a market like Africa. So it's very important to understand that. How do we fix this? Well, we introduced an APC model. We definitely introduced the APC model, which is A stand for artistic strategy, emotional storytelling, branding and creativity, use poetry, right? P stand for psychological, which means consumer behavior, emotional trigger, and persuasion. C stand for cultural, diversity, global expansion, inclusive markets. So these are very model that we use in our consulting firm, just improving business strategy, marketing, and branding. Remember, we emphasize the emotional connection between the consumer and the product. Also, we talking about creativity and personal expression because the data is clear, man. I believe there was a report, 90% of consumer trust recommendation from people they know. Yeah, and stories create stronger connection in traditional ads. So when you're out there, startup or small business, or you've been in the industry for a long time, remember that emotional story in advertisement can really increase your brand. So that's our model. We're going to kind of dive in terms of, some of the success metrics we had. But first, it's good to point out that, at the end of the day, if you're a brand out there, man, you're using storytelling, you're going to see 22% or more engagement. That's what the data show. Emotional branding do matter, improving customer retention by 50%. I think that's what we all want, right? That's like I said, instead of solely focus on marketing or making a sell, remember, I think it's about creating a long-term connection. And I know sometimes as a small business, I don't know, corporate strategy leader, we don't have time for that. I think that's where you hire a team, but you kind of emphasize that you got to be culturally adapted, and by being culturally adapted, you kind of increase your consumer engagement. So, yeah, some example here when we say artistic branding and creating emotional connection, we got Nike, you know, masterclass in storytelling. So I think ask yourself the question, step one will be, what is your brand emotional story? Think about your brand. Coca-Cola share a Coke campaign centered around personalization because it's personal, invoke emotional connection. They print popular name on bottles, encouraging consumers to share moments with someone special. It's the same thing with whatever you're offering or your product, your services. We know that Nike use emotion to inspire action, align branding with core human values. And that kind of generate 44, 5 billion in yearly revenue. So I think that's the question first. You say to yourself, what story does your brand tell? For me as a poet, leadership and business consultant, cultural strategy, I had to ask myself those questions. So it's good to really talk about the whole artistic branding aspect. And then second, you're looking at how will you use psychology to influence buying behavior? Because psychological salesman, why people buy? I mean, Amazon use a lot of I think urgency stuff to influence consumer behavior. Amazon, they can display the limited offering and low stock notification to create a sense of urgency, like, and then next you're buying fast. So that a data driven success is important, you know, because it's so important. I think it's so important to really focus on the fact that 40% of increase in sell when your brand use psychological trigger, um, urgency and social proof, it's important, you know. Um, And also the fear of missing out that drives 60% of impulse purchases because you know your impulse. What is your impulse? What is your impulse? So I think it's good to really say to yourself, how does your brand connect across culture as well? But I think, after you kind of leverage from a psychological standpoint side, because one thing is good to point out is the whole aspect of how can your business leverage psychology in sales? That's a good question. That is something usually I think we struggle with. You know what I mean? How do you use psychology to influence buying behavior, man? So how does that look like, for your business? You know, this whole thing about displaying limited time offer. I think we all do that. We all know this thing. Um, I think the goal is trying to create a sense of urgency, right? That can lead to somebody reach out to you faster. Because I know there's a study, I think, about the Journal of Consumer Research show that sarcasticity tactic can increase the desire for a product by 50%. So as consumers, we fear missing out an opportunity. It happens, and that's what we have to buy fast. So I think the research of the data is there. It's about you as a small business owner, as a startup, as a corporate strategy. You think about consumer engagement, how can you, focus on consumer behavior? And then think about cultural intelligence too. How does your brand, man, your business, what's the strategy about connecting across culture? You know what I'm saying? We know McDonald's. That's an easy example that everybody use. Why localization matter. You know what I'm saying? And McDonald's, they adapt their marketing strategy just to fit culture preference around the world. Why not you? I mean, in India, for example, I have a lot of client network from India always say that McDonald's, they do offer vegetarian menu, right? This is something that we all know. It's all about to accommodate cultural, even religious dietary restriction because everyone is a consumer. You have to show cultural sensitivity. You have to show understanding. So I think, McDonald's and Netflix is a perfect example. Why not just pause and tap it to them? So if you launch your brand internationally, what cultural adaptation would you need? I think that's the questions. So it's good to look at your industry, your report industry about marketing, brand, and sales. I mean, like I said, you may not have time as a business owner, as a startup, but at the end of the day, for us, we're trying to emphasize this three model: artistic, psychological, cultural strategy, because cultural intelligence is definitely the secret to global expansion. I think first about having a strategy that can align with consumer psychology and also cultural relevance locally and globally. That's why we do a lot of branding exercise, in our firm. We kind of invite our network, our client to do self-reflection and cultural psychological using psychological, artistic, psychological, cultural strategy, like self-reflection about you. What is your core value? Like I said, remember what is your brand emotional story, right? Um, I think identify 3 to 5 value that really connect most deeply with you. What are those values? Think about too, how will you use psychology to influence, buying behavior, buying consumer as well, right? Um, I think, yeah, these are small steps. And the step three, think about how does your brand connect across culture? Because at the end of the day, man, what you're looking for is really start with that self-reflection, create your APC brand through artistic, psychological, cultural strategy. Remember, talking about again, trying to identify 3 to 5 values that connect most deeply with you. And those values should be the foundation of your brand. Everything is about brand. You are a brand. I'm my own brand. And how do they reflect your personal, professional identity? Like, for example, people say, yo, creativity, empathy, innovation, these are value, right? Second, think about also what are your strengths and skills, right? You got to be able to reflect on your natural talent, your ability, and your area of expertise. But I think start with these questions here. Answer these questions. We had a case study where we have helped Black-owned businesses, especially grow by 25% when we really dive into this whole understanding the problem, the challenge that many of us have, especially community engagement and brand identity. I think that's a local and global thing. So for us, we came in artistic. We was able to rebrand using storytelling based marketing. I think poetry. You know what I mean? I'm a poet. It's good to connect with that audience to art. Psychological is a creative customer loyalty program, but we had to first do some psychological assessment in addition to business assessment. Cultural, yeah, expand the reach by engaging diverse audiences to not overlook the cultural nuisance. Listen, we live locally but thriving in the globalized world. Yeah, the result was at least 25% revenue growth and stronger brand recognition. So remember, it's all about stepping back, identify your strength and your skills. This was a very important case study, because you got to figure out what are your strengths in order to really leverage those strength skills. Yeah. So what do the future of marketing look like? For us, I mean, it's all about the APC in action, and if you look at sort of what that looked like, right, before and after using the APC model, remember APC stands for artistic, psychological, cultural strategy that we integrate in our workshop and training to help our consumer, our client, our network in terms of team development, consumer engagement, leadership, and so on. But company using psychology-based branding, they see at least 47% of higher conversion, right? Diversity driving business outperform competitive by 36%. That's a global market. In the local global market, it's about data, numbers. Realize that it does matter. It does matter. So we have to move beyond traditional marketing and really focus on business impact. And you got to compare the traditional model. How do you market yourself? How do you brand? And if you remember, all of that do complement business operation because at the end of the day, at the end of the year, when you go to your accountant, to your tax person, I don't know, see how you do, how did you do for the year? The numbers may not match, may not show because maybe you need to improve marketing and branding. I think marketing. Do you see marketing? Just yeah, marketing and branding is everything, man. That's how you simplify. I think for us, the future of marketing rely in our consulting model, our APC model in action, because I feel like you have to really understand the difference between before and after using the APC model, um, and realize that yeah, data is everything, man. Data show you how marketing and sales and brand connection strategy. It can definitely align with consumer psychology and cultural relevance, right? So I mean, for us, this why the APC is a competitive edge. Like I said, first, if you kind of go back to those practicing, answering those, doing those branding exercise that we mentioned, and I think from an investor perspective, you want to invest on a model that give you a competitive edge, that really increase your leadership, how you think strategically, problem solving, communication, culture awareness, um, but first think about what are your passion and interests? think about the activity and the causes that bring you joy, and think about also thing that truly excites you and motivate you, that can help shape your brand voice and purpose. um, and I think that you do that, you'll focus on consumer engagement from a standpoint that brand that use a APC strategy can retain 40% of more customers, right? Market expansion, culture intelligence allow company to scale without losing authenticity. This is why when we kind of advise on entering the African market, we always emphasize that localization to marketing is important. Africa has 54 countries. That means 54 markets, different business opportunity. I think from a marketing standpoint, you got to focus on building trust, relationship locally across the African continent, increase your brand and visibility through marketing, work with the local. Localization is important. You think about revenue growth, yeah, emotional storytelling increases conversion by 47%. So it's all about that kind of like a return of investment, that take away as an investor to say to yourself, like, this model that we are integrating is scalable. It does have a high return of investment for the future of business. So if I were you, yeah, hire us. Yeah, connect with us. So we can really help you execute, integrate this model in your business and your strategy, because everything is a strategy. Everything is a strategy. You're thinking about innovation in how you're going to innovate in technology, culture exchange. You also think about mental health advocacy, the stress that's associated with being an entrepreneur, running business. Yeah, we need that mental health advocacy too. And then you think about artistic expression, some of the tools that we use to express ourselves. Because what is your unique personality? Consider how your personality influences your interaction with others, even among your team. What trait would you say that's distinct, that's different, that's memorable? So I think for me, investor focus, these are the things we talk about to really understand the advantage of using this model, looking from a consumer engagement perspective, market expansion and revenue growth, and figured out that, listen, what will be your ROI? Um, yeah, so for me, I'm Leonard Chutenge. So for me, that's my expertise in terms of using this APC model through our publication, the Consciously Exposed Manifesto. It's available on Amazon. You can really get that. It give you a bunch of case study example practices that we use for our clients, our network. The second, it's entering the African market, business expansion insight will give you a lot of insight and strategy how to really penetrate the African market. The third book is The Last Catholic Standing, which basically focus on how faith-based leadership and resilience do matter. I mean, the reality, man, you can't overlook faith. So whatever faith you practice, whatever even value, you got to stand on something strong, a foundation. You think about too the role of faith in leadership and how you're resilient. How do you also use that to brand yourself, or value that can help you connect the dots? We cannot ignore all stakeholder or aspect of the local and global markets. I mean, this is why I mentioned earlier that you have companies that do that really religious sensitive, culturally sensitive, realize that we have to meet local consumer where they are. Yeah, so yeah, I've been a Harvard Business Review Council member. I've been also trained by McKinsey Ford, the leadership program. I'm also certified Boston artist and business consultant by the city of Boston, the state of Massachusetts. Yeah, so for me, I think this whole concept of APC came into that consulting book called the Consciously Exposed Manifesto. It's the APC model. It's all about revolutionizing consulting, business, and culture strategy. So grab your copy to transform your approach. We can't wait to connect with you all. I hope this was helpful, but I'm also going to leave you with some exercise you can think about applying APC to your business. Start with answering the question, what's your brand core emotional message? Mm. How can your business apply storytelling to engage customers? What cultural adaptation does your brand need for global success? You answer this question, send the answers. Let's connect and we're going to discuss it together. Because I feel like by answering those questions, you're going to start cooking. When you're going to be in the kitchen, start cooking, it's going to start smelling good. So what's next? I mean, yeah, for us, conscious exposed consultant, we're definitely expanding into new markets. We helping right now, advising on how to enter the African markets and how can you be involved. I mean, there's a lot of investment and opportunity in our workshop and consulting and business expansion. So connect with us. Wait to learn more. I think just schedule a time with us, and we can build, the future of marketing. Because remember, it all comes down to really marketing. And also think about um, the whole question about who's your target audience. Because I know we know the question, but understanding who your brand is speaking to is very crucial. And we all struggle with this, and we all have. But I think if you pause, you spend time reflecting on the following question, like, for example, that can help you clarify your target audience. Like, yo, listen, define the demographic and the psychographic characteristic of your ideal customer. So what does that mean? I've learned, I mean, like, for example, if you have a lot of tech savvy millennial, socially conscious entrepreneur, they're looking for mental wellness solution. That's something that I've learned and you have to think about and also say to yourself, um, what are they struggle? What are the struggle of your customer? You have to identify the pain point, like the pain, what keeps them at night? What does your audience face, right? What are they challenging or there's unmet need? So for example, you know how it is that we all struggle to balance, we all have difficulty balancing work life, very overwhelming. We have a lot of stress, mental health, and sometimes we're also lacking access to culture resources too. You know what I mean? These are things to think about. It. Oh, what are you helping your customer overcome? Mm. Yeah, it's not just about making money, man. I think you got to sustain in this market. So it's good to really ask yourself, what are you helping your customer overcome? You got to clarify your solution, your product, your services, and what they provide. And how does your brand alleviate the struggle, help them reduce those challenges that your audience faces? So, for example, if you're out there offering time management tool or mental health support, a cultural workshop like I do, what emotion do they have that they have with that they struggle, that they're facing? So you're looking for that emotional experience, emotional connection behind your audience challenges. You figure that out, it help you craft some messages that resonate, that connect with them deeply. Because frustration, anxiety, or confusion are big emotions. So what emotion with they have, what emotion will they have if they use your product or services? Would it be a positive? Yeah, you're looking to identify the positive emotional transformation that your product or services offer. For example, they can be empowered when they hear you speak, calm, confident, you inspire. I think that's a lot of coaching is a big industry. Consulting is a big industry. You got to know where your audience spend their time. I know that's hard, but I think you can look at both online. Are they online? Are they offline? Know where your audience spend their time, where they at in the street. I mean, you know how it is, whether it's the social media platform, local events, or specific community, you got to be able to understand because it help you understanding this help you focus on your marketing effort. So we know Instagram, LinkedIn is mental health forum, culture event of and creative spaces is the important platform. But I think ask yourself what aspect of your audience personal and social identity seeking need that you can fulfill because you're always looking for a need, right? You're always looking to meet those need, you know, provide a sense of belonging, personal growth, Think about too, how does your audience like to be approached or talked to? Understand the preferred communication style of an audience is key. And this is something that we all struggle with. But I think you do that is going to inform your tone, your voice, your messages. It can be friendly, casual, formal, professional, or some audiences or stakeholder. like to be more empathetic and supportive. I think, man, listen, once you're trying to answer these questions, man, you can build that target persona, man. Personifying your target audience makes it easier to understand their need, their desire, motivation. That's why I do a lot of market research, man. You want to create a tangible persona, something that some group that you can measure for your branding effort more effectively that align with your audience value and preferences. So for us, listen, at the end of the day, integrating artistic, psychological, culture strategy and branding is key. To finally recap, artistic strategy means you're infusing creativity, visual element in your branding identity, whether through, color psychology, logo. This is stuff that we all know, but we got to repeat that. Storytelling in your campaign is good too. But there's definitely an artistic aspect to invoke emotion. That's why as a poet, I do that, invoke a lot of emotion through my poetry, because the goal is trying to connect with my audience on a deeper, more level. Psychological strategy, I think it's about utilize principle of human behavior, emotional intelligence, man, that help decision making, managing your emotion or identifying buying choices. For example, um, like I say, using emotional appeal or designing a user experience if you connect with a tech person, another tech person have you, but work with a tech person to integrate tech and the human aspect that can push people towards action. See, cultural strategy just ensure that your branding respect and diverse cultural background, man. Understand cultural nuances is big. Don't overlook that. Language preference, social context to build trust. Everything is about trust and create some dope connections. So I hope this helped you. I think it helped you engage more authentically with your broader audience. This is a learning thing every single day. You gotta grow in this. But I feel like if you combine the strategy with the insight from that self-reflection questionnaire or do a targeted audience analysis, you can really create a strong, emotionally resonating, cultural competent brand that connect deeply with your audience. So, yeah, these are just exciting conversation. But like I said, remember that using artistic, psychological, culture strategy to build a strong brand, they come down to marketing and storytelling. It's not just selling. We did talk about that. Uh, yeah, and I think that's basically the conclusion aspect of everything. That marketing, man, it's really to ensure that you also incorporate a lot of cultural strategy because we live locally but thrive in a globalized world. So you have to ensure that cultural relevance, but adapting your message to diverse audiences and understanding cultural nuances. So by integrating the strategy, I feel like I mentioned before, and I'm sorry if I'm repetitive, you can create a brand that connect emotionally with the audience and authentically across culture. It's not that hard. You can't do alone, but you have to stand out in a very competitive market in the US. You have to stand out because if you don't stand out, you're just going to miss the mark. So listen, connect with us, scan the QR code, check out YouTube. We have a lot of insight, different network platform. So until next time, stay inspired, stay composed, because as of today, you have been consciously exposed.